First, I will apologize. First, I have trouble breathing with this suit and bow tie. Second, I'm French, and I'm a French guy with poor English. So I think the FPA should award a prize to the people if somebody is able to understand what I say tonight. In exactly 2 weeks, we will celebrate an anniversary. Exactly 2 weeks. 70 years ago, on December 10th, the General Assembly of the UN adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But what is a celebration at a time when journalists can be dismembered, not only by Mexican traffickers, it happens often, but also by state agents in a consulate. Whereas even in Europe, journalists are killed. It happened in Malta and then in Slovakia when they investigate corruption. In her book, Truth and Politics, the philosopher Hannah Arendt wrote that freedom of opinion is a farce unless factual information is guaranteed and the facts themselves are the basis of the debate. After a fourfold increase in the number of democracies between the end of the Second World War and the year 2000, in the past 2 decades, a score of countries have gone from democracy to another type of regime. As the American essayist Walter Lippmann wrote in the 80s of the past century, the crisis of Western democracy is also a crisis of journalism. Today, probably would have written, this is a crisis of information. We have to address the causes, not just the symptoms. During the past 2 decades, information and communication technologies have expanded freedom of expression as never before in history. The problem is that now we live in an information jungle. An information jungle where, to paraphrase Gresham's law, bad information drives out good. There's an unfair competition that gives an advantage to manipulation, rumors, and lies. Academic studies prove it, this unfair competition. And the globalization of information has also the effect of distorting the competition between democratic models and despotic regimes in favor of the latter. In this new world, gigantic multinational corporations that provide remarkable services also decide what we can and cannot see. They shape the architecture of the public space and ultimately organize our choices. Having placed their tables and chairs in the center of the world's village square, they decide how the tables and chairs are arranged and who sits where. In the course of the history of democracies, guarantees were established for journalistic freedom, pluralism, ethics, and accuracy, even if those guarantees were not perfect. Those guarantees were established, in fact, on the national level in democracies, like in media laws. They were often invisible to the general public, but had positive effects. In a globalized and digitalized information and communication space, we have to build new guarantees. That's why Reporters Without Borders, Reporters Sans Frontières, has recently created a Commission on Information and Democracy composed of 25 members from 18 countries. This panel includes Nobel economics laureates like Joseph Stiglitz or Amartya Sen, Nobel Literature laureate Mario Vargas Llosa from Peru, a lot of very famous people, very courageous journalists who have to face authoritarian strongmen and tech specialists. And I have the honor to co-chair this commission with Shirin Ebadi, who is a Nobel Peace Laureate coming from Iran. Starting on September 11th, we have drafted an international declaration on information democracy. This declaration, and you will be able to find leaflets when you will go out. This declaration, published on November 5th, states that the global information and communication space is a common good of humankind. The declaration underlines that actors in a position to shape this global space have responsibilities, especially in terms of political and ideological neutrality, pluralism, and accountability. Code is the new law, as we know. Laws adopted by our parliaments are not perfect, but they are transparent, and there are checks and balances. The laws imposed by platforms are not transparent, and there are no checks and balances. On November 11th, 12 heads of government and state committed to implement the declaration. They participated in an event that we organized during the Paris Peace Forum, and we had with us Justin Trudeau from Canada, but also the heads of Lebanon, Norway, Lithuania, Tunisia, Costa Rica, and Emmanuel Macron from France. The 12 heads of government and state have decided to launch an intergovernmental initiative for information and democracy on the basis of this declaration. The Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, the head of UNESCO, the head of Council of Europe also supported the project. Our strategy is to convince governments and other stakeholders to work on information and democracy as they work on climate change. The declaration stipulates that for the implementation of its principles, we should create the equivalent of what the IPCC is for climate change. I will not enter tonight into details, but to get concrete results, in any case, we will need the support of journalists, whatever the countries you come from, to defend together trustworthy news and information in our new global communication and information space. I would like to thank the FPA for giving me the occasion tonight to speak in front of such an audience. Et merci beaucoup, cher Bénédicte. Thank you.